Coming up this week on Ride the Lightning, the Tesla Motors unofficial podcast, Tesla reveals new key details about how Model 3 reservations are gonna work. So let's get right to it and talk about them. Welcome to Ride the Lightning, the Tesla Motors unofficial podcast for March 20th, 2016. It's episode number 33. My name is Ryan McCaffrey. Thank you all again so much for joining me. Well, this is a big week. We've been waiting for details about the Model 3 reservation process, and we got some key ones this week. So I didn't even want to mess around with intros, with what's been going on. This is the big subject that I know I've been waiting to hear about. A lot of you listeners have been waiting to hear about. So let's get it right kicked off with some details. Model 3 reservations will begin at 10 a.m. Pacific on March 31st. Now that is going to mean sight unseen deposits for all of you who plan on reserving in stores, including myself, because the event is not going to be until 7 p.m. later that night down in Hawthorne. Online reservations will start after the event ends, which is estimated to be around 8:30 Pacific. A drivable prototype or possible multiple prototypes are rumored to be at the event, so that ups the ante for how interesting this could get. I mean, I know, of course, it's been pointed out, yes, there was a drivable prototype S at that event and a drivable prototype X, but I think, I don't know, I certainly am a little pleasantly surprised by that. I thought, disregarding the whole scuttlebutt about, it's just going to be pictures. I never bought into that. I've talked about that on the show. But, I kind of figured we'd get, as I think I talked about a couple weeks back, maybe just a body with sort of just blacked out windows to not show interior. But it looks like we may get a functional, full-up car that's working, which is awesome, awesome news. Now, invites have already been sent out. Tesla has said this is going to be an intimate event. This is no doubt in response to how the Model X event went, which I was lucky enough to be at. It was extremely crowded. The estimate was there were 2,000 to 3,000 people there. We were definitely all crammed into a tight space. It started very, very late. Of course, there was the whole Allsop thing, who called him out and got his reservation on for X canceled. But it definitely, it does seem that Tesla has taken feedback from how the Model X launch event went and is incorporating it here. So the event is described as an intimate event, 800 total people, 650 owners. I'm sure there'll be some Tesla folks, obviously, and then I suppose media fill out the rest. I have not received a media invite as I had for the Model X launch event, so it's not looking too like I got the cut. I feel like the invite would have come by now because I've seen reports online of other media outlets getting their invites, so it's unfortunate. I mean, I understand, I get it. I know, I'm not Jalopnik or, Newsweek or Road and Track or Car and Driver or any of those by any stretch of the imagination, but I've been holding out hope that since I have had email exchanges with Tesla PR and I've reviewed 2 Model S's for IGN and I've got this show going, I was hoping, maybe that would be enough to get me in. Not looking too good for me. But a lot of you folks aren't going either because they held a lottery. As many of you owners know, if you got you should have all got the email. There was a lottery for owners to win tickets to the event, and they drew those the other day, the Thursday. So if you had gotten in, you would have heard via email already. So apologies if you did not get in. You'll be watching it online streamed just as I will, just as a lot of the rest of us will. I really wanted to, of course I wanted to be there, but I thought it would be great for the podcast too, to be able to share insights of having been at the event. I could have interviewed some people there, but anyway, it's seemingly not meant to be. So, you may have also seen Tesla tweet out or otherwise share, send out an image of on the invite, there was an S, there was an X, and then there was a silhouette intended to represent the Model 3. Now, I've seen plenty of website articles without even thinking about it, jump straight to Tesla announces Model 3 invent, and here's what it looks like. Here's what the car looks like. No, because I took a look at that and I initially went, oh, is that a silhouette? And then I took a closer look at it and like, no, it's exactly the Model S silhouette. It is the exact same thing. So I am 99% sure that's not the Model 3 silhouette, that it's just an S that's used as a placeholder, as imagery to simply tease and make a point, but not actually show anything about the car. I'm going to reserve the 1% in case, for some reason, it does have the exact same silhouette from the front and proportions as the Model S. You never quite know. But I seriously doubt it. I'm pretty sure that image that was teased on social media and on the invites was just a Model S image. Now, I was very happy to see confirmation this week that Tesla employees, as had been sort of tossed around on the forum, Bonnie Norman was a big champion of this on Tesla Motors Club, and it does seem, whether she had simply heard it and was then recirculating it sort of publicly, or whether she just was hoping this would happen, and it is happening. Tesla employees are getting first dibs on Model 3. In fact, their reservations have already opened. So you already know this if you listen to this show and you work for Tesla. I'm certainly not breaking any news for you folks, but it has been confirmed. The images posted online that Tesla employees have begun reserving their cars. That's great. I'm totally all for that. I think that's awesome. And then you've got the added benefits. It's obvious, right? It makes a lot of sense. You've spent the last, by the time the Model 3 gets built, you'll have spent the last 5+ years building higher end luxury cars that many of your employees can't afford. Now, I've been to the Tesla factory. I've had lunch with a friend that works there. And I will tell you, there actually are a lot of Model S's there that are employee cars, but nevertheless, Tesla employs something like 15,000 people. The majority of them do not have an S or an X. They are, they don't have them yet. So it's great to see that the Model 3, which is obviously much more affordably priced for everyone, is being given the first dibs to employees they'll feel rewarded. They'll feel, really a part of the process. They're going to be more, they're probably going to take a little extra pride than they already take a lot of pride in building the cars, but there's going to be that 110% of pride in building those cars right from the get-go, because it might be a car of someone they know. Like, oh, that's Bill in marketing's car, or that's Joe from down on the assembly line. This is his Tesla red painted car. Oh, this is his. I know the VIN number here, but so that's great to see. And again, it's the added bonus too is it's inevitable. It's just a product inevitability that's just with anything, of course. The most bugs are going to be in the initial cars. So if those are employee cars, you can take care of those in-house with your employees. Just get them squared away. Your employees you'll take care of your employees. They'll be happy, and then the feedback, the lessons learned there can go into customer cars so that they don't run into what seems to be going on with Model X, which is these early cars spending extra time in the service centers and delays in delivery and cars having to go back to the service center for Falcon Wing door sensors or seals or what have you. So it's a good thing that the Tesla employees they're effectively the beta testers. And I don't mean that derisively at all. I would love to be at the front. I would be happy to, because I live close. I'm 45 minutes from the factory. I would be happy to get one of the early cars, because I'm just so excited to get one. And that will also mean the employees get first crack at whatever's left of the full tax credit, because as we've talked about before, and as many of you may know, the tax credit is based on number of cars sold per manufacturer in the United States. And Tesla, the current forecast at the rate the company is going, yes, they are growing, but the current forecast is for Tesla to hit that magic 200,000 cars sold in the US mark are in the early days of Model 3, provided Model 3 stays on time. And interestingly, I mean, every indication that Tesla has put out, every indication so far is that this car is on schedule. Now, of course, as things continue, the X has seen a lot of unforeseen last-minute delays. So again, we don't know. But if this car stays relatively on schedule, that tax credit is going to be coming up due right, in the early deliveries of Model 3. Now, and by early, I mean, the first few tens of thousands, seemingly. Now, of course, there is a phase out for the first full quarter after the 200,000 is hit. Full credit's still good. So you've got a 3-month grace period there, and then it lowers down to a 50% for another quarter before phasing out. So there will be a phase out. Now here's what caused a lot of controversy, and unfortunately, a lot of division in the community, in the Tesla community this week, certainly on the Tesla Motors Club forum. That's certainly what I'm referring to by community. Now, before we knew that the employees were getting first crack, and I think everybody previously had been on the same page that yes, that's a good thing, but Tesla did announce when they confirmed the Model 3 event and sent out the invites for the lottery for tickets to the event, that current Tesla owners will get priority in the reservation queue. Now, I happen to be in a Tesla right now. I'm recording in my cousin Pat's car. I'm down here in Arizona for the weekend. I'm here for a work event on Monday. I made a weekend out of it. I'm going to catch a spring training game while I'm here because that is just such a fun thing to do. By the way, if you're ever going to be in Arizona, pro tip, the month of March is the best month of the year to be here. You get not only there's spring training baseball if you want to go do that. Some of you aren't sports fans, but the weather's still good enough to go do anything, but it's not too hot. And if you drive down a road at night where there are citrus trees lining the road, you'll get this amazing smell of the citrus tree blossoms that is literally my favorite smell in life. I'm reminded of that every time I come here, and it's actually out there right now. But yeah, I'm sitting in my cousin Pat's Tesla. He's kindly given me the car for the duration of my 3-day weekend here because unfortunately he is still suffering from complications from his injury from, I mentioned last time, over the holidays. So the poor guy is still recovering, and his car has been literally sitting in his garage. I was the last person to drive it on January 1st or January 2nd. So I'm in a Tesla, but it's not mine. And that's unfortunate for me because, as I said, Tesla owners are getting the first priority on, when the general queue opens up on March 31st. Now, again, this has caused a lot of division in the community, and the thing is, there are fair points on both sides of the argument. Obviously, I am on the non-owner side of things, so that is the perspective I come at it at. But I've spent, I had an initial reaction to this, and I'll tell you, I've actually not been angry at all. I haven't been angry even when I first read it. I wasn't angry. I was just more kind of, it took the wind out of my sails. I mean, I think, I don't, I know a lot of people that listen to this podcast are owners, and I want to tell you right now that this podcast, this segment here is not going to be, anti-owner or anything. I mean, without you guys, there is no Model 3. So, but I wanted to talk through this because I know in my audience there are a lot of owners, but there are also, I hear from on the hotline, the Ride the Lightning hotline, I hear from a lot of people such as myself who are waiting for Model 3. So a lot of non-owners too. We have a really good mix of people listening to this show. And so let's talk about this. So what I really want to know, what we still don't know, is what exactly does owners get priority mean? Does every single owner's car get built before mine no matter how I configure it? Probably not, right? Because Tesla has said they're going to build the highest spec cars first and then move down. I would think that it's going to go kind of by group. So no matter who you are, whether you're a Tesla employee, a non-Tesla employee, but a Tesla owner, or a non-owner, non-employee, that I would think it's going to go by group. So let's call Group A the performance models. So if no matter who you are, if you reserve a performance model, or rather if you if you elect to configure a performance model when you're invited to configure in late 2017 or 28 or sometime in 2018, whenever it ends up being, that in that group, in Group A, that employees will be 001, 002. They'll be top of the list, then owners, then general population who configures a performance model car. And then Group B, bigger battery, dual motor car. So the, 70D, 85D, whatever kilowatt battery hour the car gets, the, big battery, dual motor, but non-performance. That's Group B. And then I got to figure Group C is the 35,000, the 200 mile range base battery group. So I've got to figure it's 3 categories, each one with 3 tiers of priority inside it. Again, Tesla employee, Tesla owner, general population. So that seems like it makes the most sense because, Tesla is 15,000 employees. How many of them are going to buy cars? It's impossible to know. Is it 5,000 of them? Is it a third of them? And then owners. There are 100,000 owners now, let alone how many are we going to have in 2 years from now? How many of them are going to buy Model 3s? Is it going to be a third of them? So are we looking at 33 plus thousand cars, so making a total queue of roughly 50,000 cars before anyone who's a non-owner, non-employee gets crack at it? I don't think so. I think it's going to go by tiers. But another big question is there going to be a time limit on this owner thing, where on the owner priority, where can an owner now put their deposit in a year and a half from now and still get priority? I mean, that's a big question to be answered. Or is it going to be a limited time thing where it's just a small window here in late March, early April? But again, when I read this, and as I've digested this, again, it really did just take the wind out of my sails. Again, I'm not angry at Tesla. I'm not angry at current owners. But here's the thing, and just hear me out here. And I'm going to try and be as level-headed and even keel about this and fair as I can, because again, that's how I want to approach. I'm trying to put myself in everybody's shoes. But I will say, I am disappointed that after waiting so long for a Tesla that I can afford so that I can finally be a part of this club, a part of this movement, a part of this future, that I have to wait longer so that people who are already experiencing that and the joys of it can buy another Tesla. Now, that may sound petty to some of you or jealous, and I don't intend it to, but let's look at it. I mean, Tesla intends this to be a thank you to their owners. And it is true, as I said, without them, there is no Model 3. I recognize that. I appreciate that. I also think they did it because, and this may be the real reason that the goodwill to owners thing is just a handy cover for, and I sort of alluded to it, I mentioned it with the employee thing, but again, they're kind of more, you get early cars into the hands of people who are already familiar with Tesla and how they work and have a relationship with Tesla, and those people are likely to be the most forgiving and understanding of early bugs. So again, I totally get that, but and really my biggest hang up with this, and really everybody's is based, and I've read all the threads, is the potential loss for us non-owners of that full tax credit and possibly even any tax credit. That's really what stings, because, it's not about how much money you make or how hard you work. I mean, it's not at all. I mean, everybody's worked hard to be in the position they're in. And fundamentally, for me, it's just disappointing that the tax credit is out there. And it should be out there, again, for at least those early batches of cars, if the car stays relatively on schedule. But Tesla has made a choice that will give a sizable chunk of those remaining tax credits, if not all of them, to people, to the existing owners who, by and large, by virtue of being able to afford the cars already, will not benefit as much as it would benefit those of us who haven't been able to afford an S or an X. Now, you can make the argument that well, Tesla's been very careful to advertise the price as $35,000 before incentives. Or the other thing I've seen is, well, go talk to your state senator. The thing to do is talk to your state senator and get them, petition them to extend the tax credits or reform the program somehow. But in my humble opinion, that's missing the point. And I think the latter thing with contacting your state senator is unrealistic if we're honest with ourselves. That's just not realistic. The fact of the matter is the tax credit is out there. You can't pretend it's not or brush it aside. And the thing is, Tesla has made a choice to award those tax credits to existing owners who are, by definition, wealthier. And again, it's not that they don't deserve it or that they didn't work hard for where they are in life. This isn't a class warfare thing. I'm not upset with those folks. Not at all. Again, without them, I don't have a podcast, for one thing. Also the fact that I've met so many Tesla owners, and I've heard from so many more on this show who've emailed or called in, and they've every single one of them has been so kind, so supportive, and so generous. I mean, some of you have let me drive your cars unsolicited, like, hey, you want, or just offered to, if you ever meet me, if we ever meet. I mean, that's an incredible generosity and an incredible kindness that is just to be commended. It's a beautiful thing. But there are a number of folks in the community right now who really there's been a lack of empathy from a lot of owners posting about this. I honestly don't think I haven't seen one post yet. And I've been reading all the threads. I haven't seen a single post from an owner saying, I appreciate Tesla recognizing the contributions to the company's overall goal, which is Model 3, by prioritizing my reservation, but I feel bad that it may come at the expense of some eager, soon-to-be, first-time Tesla owners who now might very well not get the credit. It's that lack of empathy that I've seen from some owners, certainly not all by any stretch, but the tone, and that may just be because some folks are defensive on the discussion threads, because there are some non-owners who have expressed anger about this. Again, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to again really weigh both sides and see everybody's perspective, and so I'm willing to acknowledge that perhaps that lack of empathy has been due to being put on the defensive by non-owners who have expressed an anger about this. But I don't think, and here's the thing about this whole issue. I genuinely don't think that there is a pure right or a pure wrong answer. There are valid points to both sides. There's a case to be made, a great case to be made for doing what Tesla is doing, which is prioritizing owners. And there's a great case to be made for not giving them, moving them up in the line. But because I mean, if the Tesla that I'm sitting in right now, the dark blue metallic P85 that I'm sitting in right now, if this were my car, I were on the other side of the fence of this, I would probably feel very, very differently. Now, I don't know if I would actually be getting a Model 3 if I had if this P85 were mine, but that's beside the point. Actually probably would, because this car doesn't have autopilot. Anyway, there are valid points on both sides, and I probably would feel, I'd be excited if I were an existing owner, I would be excited about this. But, because I just wish, here's what I kind of came down to on this. I wish Tesla could have found another tangible, meaningful way to reward you existing owners for your loyalty and for your support without reducing the chance that people like me have from getting a shot at that full tax credit. That's really what it comes down to. I'm all for rewarding that loyalty and the fact that, again, without you owners, we don't even get to Model 3. The idea I had, just as a productive, to be constructively critical here. The thought I had was, well, there are no signature edition cars this time, therefore no signature red by default, at least, in the sense that in the way it has been traditionally used. What if you give existing owners access to signature red, should they want it? And then when their car is on the road, that says to everyone else, you are an existing loyal Tesla owner who has supported the company, and you get a color that, only a small number of other people get in the grand scheme of the what soon to be millions of Tesla owners once Model 3 ramps up to production. So that's what I would like to, that's, I think, and I wonder, would owners be happy with that? If you want to write in, call in, I would be curious. If you can put yourself in the shoes of not thinking about being at the front of the line, pretend that this is last week, and that that Tesla tells you, instead of Tesla telling you you're going to get your order prioritized, your reservation prioritized, what if instead they had told you, as a thank you to our loyal owners, we're going to offer them an exclusive signature red color that's not available to anyone else? Would that have made you happy, or would that have seemed a hollow, dumb gesture to you? I'm genuinely curious. I'm just wondering if my proposed solution would have gone over well or not. And believe me, I'm sure that this decision was not made lightly by Tesla at all. I'm sure that they weighed all of this and decided that this was, there was no great way to go either way. In terms, there's no situation where it's just win-win. They went, okay, well, somebody might be a little upset no matter how we go here. If we don't prioritize our existing owners, they're going to wonder if we still care about them, or if we just use them to get to Model 3, which has been, the goal of the company since 2006. And if we do prioritize them, the non-owners are going to be unhappy because they have to wait even longer for a car that they've been waiting years and years and years for already. So I'm sure Tesla weighed all of this. They probably opted to say, okay, well, we're prioritizing our employees and our existing owners, so that in theory, by the time general customer orders, people like me, non-owners, non-employees, get their cars, they've got pretty rock solid cars with a lot of the bugs shaked out. Now, it's also possible that I may be blowing this whole thing out of proportion for a couple of reasons. One, if it does in fact go by the Group A, Group B, Group C thing that I was talking about, if I happen to be lucky enough to convince my wife and somehow raise enough money to get myself in position to get the performance model, the ludicrous Model 3, which is my dream. That is my dream. You all know this. If you've been listening I know I've got a lot of new listeners every week. I've seen the numbers going up. I appreciate everyone who's giving this podcast a try. If you've stuck with me for a little while, if you've been with me for a little while, you know what my dream is. My dream is to go from being that wide-eyed kid with his face pressed up against the glass on the outside looking in, to being a part of this. This show is my way of trying to be a part of this community and trying to contribute to this community without having the wallet yet to be able to be an actual owner and be on the inside. But, if I can be in that Group A, that performance group, then I may not have to wait that long, because how many Tesla employees will opt for a performance model, which I anticipate to be, $70,000+, and how many existing owners will go with a performance model. And they're going to build all those cars first. So maybe it won't be quite that long of a wait. And the other thing is, and this is kind of the place I ended up settling after. I'm kind of glad that this happened early in the week, so that I did have time to digest all this before recording the show, rather than just giving a gut reaction. Because the internet is full of gut reactions. Sometimes it's better to sit down and digest and really process and think through everything. And I'm kind of glad I've been able to do that over the course of this week. Because the other thing that I thought about, particularly after, because the employee thing wasn't made public, the information about the employees getting prioritization and the fact that they are already being able to reserve the car, that wasn't made public until after the news about, it was a few days after the news about the owners getting priority was it. So early in the week, the puzzle, the full picture looked like, oh, just owners are getting priority. Now that it's owners and employees, which again, in the one sense is a little frustrating in the sense of, for guys like me, it's, oh man, further back in the line, particularly if you're ordering a base model car. You know, if you're in Group C and you're just doing base model car, maybe a few little options, but if you're Group C, you might have to be waiting a good long time. You might be looking at 2019. You know, that it could be a while. But the thing I've kind of come to now, because I'm completely at peace. I'm actually happy. I'm very happy for Tesla employees getting first crack. Very happy. And the fact of the matter is, with the owner thing, I've said my piece. I actually tweeted Elon, who I doubt saw it, but you never know. I tweeted him and I digested my thoughts, and I'm putting them out there on this podcast. And here's the next step. It is what it is now. You know, if enough people roared up in anger, could they change it? Sure. We know the internet is capable of doing that, but that doesn't happen often, and that's just kind of not who I am, and I don't feel that, again, I'm not angry about this. I don't feel that strongly about it to want to start a movement and rise up. I'm a little disappointed. The wind was let out of my sails for being, for having already waited a while for this car, but it is what it is. And between now employees and existing owners getting priority, I've now just resigned myself to, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm not going to get the tax credit. Certainly, probably not the full one. And here's the thing. If it works out where, whether it's through the generosity of my audience, whether it's, I end up maybe trying a little crowdfunding thing, or whether it's just, if I can save up enough money to get all the way up to that performance bracket, I've got a little chunk in the bank. It's nowhere near enough for a performance model now, but if I find myself able to, if the time comes and I'm able to put myself in the position of getting a performance model, and I do get that tax break, the full tax credit, I'm going to just look at it as a bonus. That's where I've kind of resolved myself with this, is I'm going to just not expect it. I'm going to think it's gone. I mean, I'm happy it's going to employees who probably, most of them don't already own a Tesla. And I'm just resigning myself to, it'll probably be gone. And if it's not, bonus, and I'll just get a couple extra options, even though, again, my dream, my dream that is to be able to check every box and just go all out and get everything anyway. But we'll see. So that's I hope people weren't turned off or annoyed by that. I'm always going to be as honest as possible. I'm very much an honesty is the best policy guy, and I think if you've been listening to me long enough, hopefully you've kind of come to know me a little bit, in the sense of, I'm not an angry guy. I'm not, I am a human being, so I'm allowed, it's okay that I'm saddened or disappointed by this. And, but I genuinely, it's not a jealousy of existing owners. It's definitely not an anger. I wish Tesla had maybe found another way to reward owners, but it is what it is. There are pluses to it. It's possible that, again, when I get my car, it could be a more rock solid car, because those existing owners got moved up in line ahead of me and helped shake out the bugs with their earlier VIN cars. So that's what it is. I got some calls about this week, as you'd expect. In fact, there are a number of calls. I'm going to again split them up. I'm going to do a few now, and then we'll come back after a short break because I'm gonna need a swig of water here in a minute. But I want to start by going to the Ride the Lightning hotline. Robert from Chicago has a couple of questions. So, Robert, take it away, my friend.
Hey, Ryan, it's Robert from Chicago calling again. Just two quick questions about the unveiling coming up March 31st. First question is that $1,000 that you put down, is that refundable, full, or partial at all sometime between, obviously, when you put it down and whenever you'd be paying the rest and putting in the full order closer to when they'd be taking deliveries? So, yeah, quick question there. And then second is, March 31st, you can go into a store and put the deposit down ahead of the April 1st online orders, I think is how you've explained it. So could you go in, I guess it would have to be, you could go in that morning and put in the deposit before they've actually even unveiled the car. Just thought that was kind of a weird way to do things, to put the money down before you've even seen it. And that's, something I'm considering just because if I'm going to do it, I want to be close to the front of the line, especially to get that the tax credit, and hopefully try and end up before that runs out. But anyways, those are my two questions. Thanks again for the show, and talk to you again soon.
All right, so Robert, let's talk to you. Is the deposit refundable, and will you be reserving the car sight unseen on March 31st? We covered the second one, but let's talk about the first one. So, yes, you will. If you reserve in store on March 31st, you will be reserving the car sight unseen. But the answer to question one is the deposit will be refundable. It has always been on the S and X, and there's no reason why it wouldn't be here. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, current owners, but I am reasonably certain that there was for the long time on the S, it's $2,500 now, but it was originally $5,000, and it's still $5,000 on the X. I believe it's a $50 processing fee for your deposit that is non-refundable. So if Tesla does something like that again, I believe you'll get at least $950 of your $1,000 back, possibly a little more if the processing fee is less than it was on the larger reservation. But sight unseen, 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, on March 31st. You'll see the car that night on the live stream. Dear Tesla, oh Lord in Fremont Tesla, please let your live stream, please have your servers ready. So many people, more people than have ever watched. I will bet the number of people watching the Model 3 live stream will be more than the combined number of people who've ever watched any other Tesla live stream ever. I think this live stream is going to be enormous. I really, really hope that the servers are equipped to handle it, because we all want to see it. We don't want to all be sitting there looking at a still frame or a error message or a crashed website. Please, oh Lord in Fremont Tesla, Mr. Musk, Lord Musk, please let your servers be ready. But yes, Robert, thank you for that call. That is good information to get out to everybody about, of course, the refundability. Or if it's definitely for sure already been made clear that if you get impatient and decide to get an S or X while you're waiting for your 3, you can move your $1,000 over towards a Model S or Model X immediately or at any point. Next up is Diego from Portland, Oregon, commenting on the priority reservation situation. So, Diego, take it away.
Hey, Ryan, this is Diego in Portland, Oregon again. Wanted to follow up on a little Twitter conversation we were having regarding Tesla giving priority on Model 3 reservations for existing Model S and X owners. I know that it's kind of seems to be a sensitive issue with potential Model 3 owners because of the fact that they want that $7,500 tax credit. And I mean, I understand $7,500 is a big chunk of money, but I don't think it's fair to necessarily hold Tesla accountable for people getting or not getting that tax credit. I think that solely relies on the federal government. So personally, as I mentioned, I truly believe that we have existing Tesla Model S and X, and especially Roadster owners, to thank for the fact that we're going to have the opportunity to make a reservation on the Model 3. If I could, I would have a Model S, but I'm not in that financial position, and I'm just curious to know what some of your other listeners and callers, where do they stand on this? I know we disagree on that issue, but still love what you do with the show, respect what you do, and just keep up the great work. Talk to you later. Bye.
Well, Diego, this is exactly what I talked about in my huge spiel earlier about there being multiple sides to this, because there are a lot of owners that feel it's totally right and just and good that, a lot of non-owners who feel that it's right and just and good that owners are getting priority. And I respectfully disagree that the responsibility for this situation lies with the federal government and the fact that that's how the program is set up, because again, Tesla chose to do it this way. Tesla knows what the tax incentive situation is, and they chose to set it up this way. So I respectfully disagree with you there, but I completely agree, of course, that we have previous owners to thank for the Model 3. So Diego, thank you for the call. Let's go to Steve in Orlando, who just got himself a Model S 3 months ago, and he wants to share his plan to get his deposit down right away for Model 3. So, Steve, I turn it over to you, sir.
Hey, Ryan. Steve from Orlando. Quick little comment for you. Have a Model S now. We just got ours like 3 months ago. Pretty awesome car. Looking at getting a Model 3, and I just called headquarters trying to get more info, as I'm sure everyone is. But I was able to get confirmation that Model S current owners are going to get priority in the queue over the non-current owners. So that's kind of cool for anybody who owns one looking for another one. And kind of like you, I have to drive in from, we're going to be out at the beach here in Florida for the week, and I'm going to drive over. It's only an hour, so not a big deal, to the store, put down my deposit, and drive back out. So hopefully it helps. I know I've been listening to the podcast, and I know there's all kinds of stuff trying to figure out what's going to take priority, which orders are going to be over which one. And hopefully, since my wife's driving the S, I've got an SUV, and I kind of want a fun little car to run around in. Hopefully I can do a nice loaded up Model 3, so that might get me a little closer to the front. Hoping I can, maybe it'll be a P90D Model 3, something like that, or maybe a P100, I guess we'll see. All right, anyways, good luck, or thanks for everything on the show. Great podcast. Enjoy it. Thanks a lot.
Steve, thank you for the call. So for me, I've got a plan A and a plan B for March 31st, and I will share them with you. Hopefully, I'll make it quick so as not to bore everyone. My plan A was, so as I mentioned recently, I'm going to be on vacation in Hawaii on March 31st. In a pre-planned family trip that was planned long, long ago before there was a Model 3 event, even though I knew I was worried when Elon was starting to say on conference calls that they were looking at late March. I was like, oh no, late March is when we're going to be in Hawaii. But my plan A was to hopefully get a media invite to the Hawthorne event, as I was very, very lucky enough to have happen with the Model X launch event. And then my plan was to fly home to cut my vacation short, leave the rest of my family, who it's not just my family, but my extended family are going to be there too. leave them in Hawaii, let them enjoy the rest of their vacation. I was going to come home a few days early on the 30th, and then I was assuming, based on previous Tesla history, that the best place to put down a reservation and the best place to get high on the list would be at the Hawthorne event itself. So I thought, okay, I'm going to fly home early, and then I'm going to drive down to Hawthorne on the 31st, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to cover it for the podcast, for IGN, and I'm going to get my reservation in there. Then, when we learned that this week we learned that reservations are starting at 10 a.m., I thought, okay, well, then plan A is fly home early, and then I'll go to my closest store, which is Burlingame in the Bay Area, if you're familiar with it, for my Bay Area listeners. Just fly home a day early, and then go early in the morning of the 31st and get there and get my deposit in. And then, if I got my media and, just take a quick flight down to LA, go to the event, cover it, have a great time, and then have a bunch of cool stories for the podcast later. So it's looking like that is not going to happen because, again, the invites have all gone out. I appear to have not gotten one. Plan B, this was always Plan B, and it looks like Plan B is what I'm going with. Plan B, turns out, after a quick search on Tesla's website, there's a Tesla store in Hawaii, but it's not the island I'm going to be on. So, what I'm doing, if I have any Hawaii listeners out there, number one, aloha, and number two, maybe I'll see ya. I am going to island hop. I'm going to catch a flight. Island hopping is a very regular thing. There's lots of flights all the time between all the islands. I'm going to island hop over to Honolulu, and I'm going to line up, and I'm going to get my reservation in there because I did call to confirm they're opening at 7 a.m. Hawaii time, which is, of course, 10 a.m. Pacific. So they are going to be right there at the same time as everybody else. And then I'm going to go right back to the airport, and I'm island hopping right back to rejoin my family and finish the rest of my vacation. So, again, kind of like the whole the other thing, the whole owner priority situation is for me. This is for me, obviously, this personal situation. There's very much pluses and minuses either way. I very, very much would love to go to the Hawthorne event to see the car, maybe touch the car, maybe even ride in the car. Who knows? But get some photographs of the car, because we all know that seeing a car in person, in the flesh, with your eyes, in 3D space, is a very, very different thing than seeing pictures of it. Pictures do not always do a vehicle justice. So, of course, I wanted to see the car. Of course, I wanted to be at the event. And it would have been, it's never your first choice to cut a Hawaiian vacation short. But again, this was such a special event. This would have meant so much to me. I would have done it. But at least this way, if in fact I'm not invited, as appears to be the case, at least this way, I'm not cutting my vacation short. I'm really only going to lose I'm losing my voice, half a day of vacation. So that's nice at least, is I can get my reservation in at the same time as everybody else and not have to cut my vacation short. So anyway, that's my crazy little story. So if you're going to be reserving in Hawaii, if you happen to be vacationing there just as I am, or if you live in Hawaii and you're a listener to the show, let's talk. Let's hang out. I'll see you at 7 a.m. on the 31st. All right. An email I want to just read here real quick. Dave Sunquist writes in and asks, which of the Model S and Model S features do you think will not be available for Model 3? We kind of touched on this a little bit last week, but he lists... So let's just... This is a fun little game. Let's just play real quick. He lists a bunch of features. Let's run through them. Pop-out door handles. No, I think... I think they were kind of a 50-50 thing before Model X came out. Now I think there's an extremely small probability that they will be on Model 3 because Tesla ditched them for Model X. I think they ditched them. You would think they ditched them for a reason. I know they've been through some iterations of the auto-presenting door handles, and they chose to eliminate them for Model X. So I would presume that Model 3 would ditch them as well. But, you never know. They could still go back to them. Because, of course, with the X doors, they just kind of like pop out. But if you have the premium package, obviously they'll just open by themselves. Maybe Model 3 has that, but do you have that for all 4 doors? Or, whereas the Model S door, the car I'm currently sitting in now, of course, it just pops out and you just grab the handle and pull it open like a normal door. So, but I would lean towards it being a more Model X style door. I'm very confident that it's going to be a flush door handle of some kind. That's kind of become part of Tesla's design style of their sort of, just their look is the whole flush door handle thing for aerodynamics and just cool factor. So, but I suspect the odds are better that it's going to be Model X style, just a push button flush handle rather than the auto presenting handles on the S. Panoramic sunroof, I think that's a given. I don't think Model 3 ships with a regular tiny, 1997 style moonroof. I don't see that. I think it will have a panoramic roof. 17-inch touchscreen, and Dave writes, will it be smaller? I think I've talked about this before. I think there's an extremely high probability that it's a 15-inch touchscreen. Why am I giving an exact number? That's dumb because I really have very little to go on, but given that Model 3 is 20% smaller in overall volume, that means the car will probably be a bit shorter and a bit narrower. Could you do a 17-inch? Could you do the same exact screen in the Model 3? Well, for economies of scale, that can make a lot of sense for Tesla, but they're going to still probably benefit from economies of scale no matter what size touchscreen they put in the 3. Because, they'll still be cranking out 80 to 100,000 S's and X's a year. They got an economy of scale on those. And then by, when they ramp all the way up, 500,000 Model 3 screens a year. But I just think, given the slightly smaller overall dimensions of the Model 3, I'm going to guess, and I'm literally staring at the screen right now, just 2 inches off would still be a pretty good size screen. So I think we might be looking at a 15-incher. I'd actually be thrilled if it's still the same nice, huge 17-inch screen because it's big, it's beautiful, it's easy to hit the buttons. But I think there's no way that the Model 3 ships with anything but a touchscreen of some size. Premium interior lighting, that could easily go because that's more of an upscale luxury feature. Flat bottom steering wheel is an interesting thing to bring up, but who knows? I don't know how much money, if that's really a high cost item. That's flip a coin on that one. Ludicrous mode, I think I'm very confident there's going to be a ludicrous mode available on Model 3. Rear spoiler, that's easy money. That's a piece of carbon fiber. Should they do it the way the S does it, I think they'll offer that. Rear Falcon wing doors, no. They've talked over and over and over about keeping the Model 3 simple, and Elon has said that Model Y will most likely have Falcon wing doors. So no, I think there's an extremely low chance that Model 3 has any sort of Falcon wing situation. The medical grade HEPA filter, the bioweapon defense mode, I think there's an extremely low chance that makes it into Model 3, even as an option. That seems like very much something you put in your upscale vehicle as opposed to the more main mass market car. So thank you, Dave, for that email. That was actually fun to run through those things. I need a quick break. I'm going to do the quick short musical interlude here while I guzzle a bit more water to save my parched throat. I'll be back with a few more phone calls. This is turning into a long show, but man, I'm having a good time. This is exactly the kind of meat that I've been waiting to chew on for a while. So be right back in about 15 seconds with some more calls from the Ride the Lightning hotline. All right, as I dive back into the Ride the Lightning hotline, I remind you that if you've got a question, comment, or discussion topic for the podcast, please give me a call All you got to do is leave a message anytime, 24/7. You can call, you can Skype. It's toll free. The number is 1-888-989-8752. That's 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted or put onto a keepsake. Please visit lifeonrecord.com to learn more. Let's kick it off with Daniel, who asks what the difference between the P and non-P models is and says an EV hacker has claimed to open up the car and says there's no difference. Daniel, talk to me.
Hey, Ryan, this is Daniel in DFW, and I was wondering if you could talk about the performance versus non-performance models. I'm also a fan of Jack Ricard's show, EVTV.me, the EV Motor Works. He does electric vehicle conversions and a lot of stuff. He's recently been using Tesla drivetrains that he's bought from wrecked vehicles, and he says he has discovered that there is no hardware difference between a performance model and a non-performance model, that is all in the software. So I was wondering if you could comment on that, and I guess people's feelings about the pricing then, and once the car is paid off and you own it outright, if you have a non-performance model, is there hackers or computer folk out there that could change that so that way you get the performance features? Since according to Jack Ricard, there's no hardware difference. So that was news to me. So I'm wondering if that's news to you too. Thanks, man. Love the show. Bye.
So call me crazy, but I could swear that the performance models have larger motors than the standard models. It would be very, very strange if it were a software-only thing, because that's just some pure profit gravy for Tesla. I mean, if they've somehow figured that out, that's one thing. I know. Well, the motors and it's the inverter, right? It's the inverter is a performance inverter. It's like a beefier inverter. So maybe that's what this guy was talking about. But there are definite hardware. I'm almost positive that there are hardware differences between the P and non-P models. Let's go down under to Australia and talk to our friend T-Ray here, who asks my opinion of aftermarket parts on Teslas. Go ahead, sir.
G'day, Ryan. T-Ray from Sydney here again. Look, I'm just calling up to ask what your opinion is on the aftermarket kit that you can get for the Teslas. I have seen some of the body kits and rims and things like that, etc., and I think they are pretty sexy. But yeah, just wondering what your thoughts are and whether you know how Tesla feels about these things happening. Anyway, mate, like I said, do love the podcast. Look forward to it every Monday morning as I drive out of the road onto work. And so, yeah, thanks for that. Bye.
Well, I will be honest with you. I've never been a big aftermarket guy at all, really, with any car I've owned. Certainly not the DeLorean, because I wanted to keep it original and pristine. But really, even my Infiniti now, I don't have any... I haven't done any sort of aftermarket body stuff or anything to it. I mean, to each their own, obviously. I mean, in car culture, you wanna make your car your own, right? I totally get that. For me, wheels. I don't know what it is with me. I think I just tend to associate a car with its OEM wheels. Like I have the 19-inch sport wheels on my Infiniti G35 that I think look really, really nice, and I've never really seen. Of all the aftermarket wheels I've ever seen on those cars, I've never really seen anything I've loved. Same thing with the Model S. I love the turbines so much that, stuff I've seen pictures of, it's never really done it for me personally. If I were getting an S or an X, I would totally go with the turbines, but yeah, go nuts with whatever wheels you want. I mean, in fact, there can be a lot of advantages to going with aftermarket wheels. There are a lot of Tesla owners that have put 20-inch wheels on their Model S's, and those tires are a lot cheaper than 21s. And, many aftermarket wheels might be lighter or stronger than Tesla wheels, or both. So, as far as body kits, again, to each their own on that. I quite frankly think that the S and the X are just completely gorgeous as is. I've personally yet to see a body kit that improves the look of a Model S for me. And as far as Tesla, I mean, they've just said they don't want you modifying the drivetrain or the PEM system or obviously the battery. Like, they don't want you trying to get into the inner workings of the car. They don't care what it looks like. They might, I'm sure they have their own personal opinions, but it's only when if you start getting into the internals of the car that they might get mad at you or disapprove. But I don't think they care much what you do to it cosmetically. Correcting me and giving some extra information from last week. Again, I continue to learn a lot. Let's go to Trevor up in Toronto, who calls in to clarify again on the Canadian Tesla pricing situation and the theory I floated out of taking delivery of a car in Cleveland and bringing it back to Toronto. So Trevor, please correct me, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, Ryan, it's Trevor from Toronto. Just wanted to call in and explain a little bit about about your last caller who called in on the podcast about importing, about the prices about Model X in Canada. We pay a 6.1 import tariff fee for foreign content, largely due to the batteries included in the car. The Canadian dollar is also quite a bit lower than it used to be about a year and a half, 2 years ago. It was at par. We're paying about 30% more than we did, so it's pushing the prices up. Rumor also has it, too, that the Model X also includes another price increase, which Model S hasn't enjoyed yet, so to speak, so it's really pushing prices high. Now, about your question about possibility of taking delivery in the U.S. and bringing the car across the border, that's not possible due to Tesla not allowing that to happen. We have an importation process where various vehicle manufacturers allow the importation of cars from the U.S. and Tesla's doesn't allow for that. So, we can't bring cars in from the U.S., which is disheartening a little bit because there's a lot of CPOs in the U.S. That we just don't have access to, and unfortunately, it's causing the prices to keep climbing up here. Anyways, enjoy the podcast, and just wanted to throw my 2 cents in. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Trevor, I have nothing to say except thank you so much. I very much appreciate that additional clarification. See, thanks to my audience, I'm learning a lot about Teslas in Canada and how all that works, which is good information to have. Also, since that was a follow-up from last week, I wanted to add another thing I learned this week, again, thanks to a kind listener. I want to thank Kevin, who emailed me and taught me something new. When I talked about the wheel situation, of course, the whole big topic on last week's show was the new Slipstream wheels. Kevin wrote to me and told me, he even pointed me the link. It's on the Tesla store, the shop.teslamotors.com store. Tesla has an Arachnid-style wheel package that's a 21-inch wheel package. It's on the site, but it's back-ordered, and according to Kevin, it's always been back-ordered. If you haven't seen it like me, because, I mean, again, I've been browsing, I've been reading Tesla Motors Club for years. I've somehow never seen this. Not to say it hasn't been there, but I haven't seen it. And the Arachnid wheel is, they're kind of, it's like pairs of, it's sort of a star-shaped arrangement. It's, 5 sets of 2, and each of the 2, they kind of look like, they sort of look like spider legs, where it's like, there's like a, it sort of juts out a little, and then and then it kind of cuts back. So it's got a almost a bend in the middle on each of the spokes. So there are, 10 of them total. It's like a 5 overall directions in a star shape. I don't have an opinion of them because I need to see them on a car, but it's interesting. That's another 21-inch wheel option that Tesla has but doesn't. So I found that very, very interesting. Finally this week, I want to go back to Diego. He called in a couple times this week. Diego from Portland he has a couple questions about anti-Tesla folks and also racing, Formula E racing stuff. So, Diego, I'll give it to you here. Take it away.
Hey, Ryan. This is Diego in Portland, Oregon. Just want to call into the show. I had a question and a discussion topic for you. One is if you have actually received any messages on the hotline from any like anti-Tesla or the fudders, fudder-duddies, whatever. Just curious. And another one is a discussion topic. It's related to an article I saw, I believe, a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. I don't think you covered on your show. It's related to a GT racing series that would use the P85 Plus Model S as the base spec for the racing series. And personally, I'm a big racing fan. I follow Formula One quite a bit. Season starts this weekend, by the way. I'm pretty excited for that, and especially with the following week of Dayland and Ball 3 is kind of like the icing on the cake for that couple of weeks. But yeah, I've been following Formula One for a little over a decade now, and I also follow a little bit of the Formula E series, which is based on all electric cars, but honestly, the racing in that series right now is currently a joke. The cars aren't really that fast, so I'm very curious to see how the Model S GT racing series pans out. I know there's some challenges to get a Model S to actually perform on a racetrack from a cooling perspective, because I believe the batteries overheat if you really push it long periods of time, so they have to make some modifications. But I'm really excited to see what they do, and curious to know if your other listeners are excited, if you are, if you're a racing fan. Anyway, that's all I had. Thanks. Keep up the good work. Bye.
Yeah, fortunately, no, I have not been trolled by any anti-Tesla folks here. Knock on wood. That's not an invitation. But, even if I were to be, I certainly wouldn't subject my audience to it. I would just delete the hotline message or email and move on with my day. This podcast and this little community that we have, because I hear from so many of you every week now, either via email or Twitter or the hotline on the phone there, that I love it. I really, it's for us. This whole little thing, this podcast, it's an outlet for me, and I'm just so grateful that so many of you have kind of been supportive and enjoy it. It's this is for us. It's for owners. It's for enthusiasts to share stories and experiences and excitement and talk Tesla. I'm always going to try and keep it fun. I would never bring the fun down by feeding a troll, as it were. And as for electric car racing, it's inevitable. I mean, I'm glad it's happening. And by the way, we can count on celebrity Tesla owner Leilani Munter. She is out there. She is a huge advocate for Tesla and for the environment, and she's made a documentary called Race to Extinction that's out there. You can look it up on demand services. But Leilani is a professional race car driver who preaches EV motoring when she is not on the track. So I bet we can count on her. We can cheer her on when electric car racing inevitably takes off. So thank you, Diego, for both of your calls this week. I love the participation. I'm going to take another quick short break, come back, and wrap up the show right after this. Okay, before I go, I want to remind you that the referral stuff is still going on. And Peter Kjærsgaard in Denmark has offered to help make my Tesla dream come true by giving me the Model X if he were to win it in the raffle that he gets entered into if you use his referral code when you buy a Tesla. So, and the other thing you get, by the way, by using his referral code is a $1,200 credit towards your home charging, installation, and setup. So that's a really good deal. If you're buying a Tesla, get your charging probably pretty well, if not entirely paid for. All you got to do, so this link that I'm about to give you will take you to the design studio, and with Peter's referral code, so that if you configure and lock in and take delivery, you will get the $1,200 credit, and Peter will get, and by extension me, will get an entry into the Model X raffle, which, by the way, should, by some miracle, by a lottery, by an incredible feat, if it were somehow to happen, that Peter wins this thing, and then he really does give it to me, as he said he would, and I have no reason to believe him to think otherwise, because he's a kind, sweet man who's been listening to the show for a long time. That would solve, I wouldn't even, I'd be out of Model 3. I would be enjoying my ludicrous Model X with my Falcon Wing doors. I would be the happiest, jolliest person on the face of the earth. So, I know I've been rambling. If you're buying a Tesla, help yourself out, maybe help me out. Use this code. Here's the website. This will take you to the design studio with Peter's code to get you your $1,200 credit and me an entry into the Model X raffle. It is ts.la/Peter6387. That website again, just type this into your browser, ts.la/Peter, Peter, 6387. Follow me on Twitter if you don't already. I'm at DMC_Ryan. If it won't fit in 140 characters, or you just prefer to email me, you can do so at teslapodcast@gmail.com. If you're a video gamer, keep up to date on what I'm doing on IGN.com. That's my day job. I interview lots of people. That's actually why my voice is destroyed. I did so many developer interviews. We had the Game Developers Conference this past week right in our backyard of San Francisco. So I did a lot of really fantastic interviews with a lot of wonderful game developers that I'll be sharing through my couple of venues at IGN. There's Podcast Unlocked, my Xbox show that runs every Wednesday, new episodes. And then there's my monthly interview show, IGN Unfiltered. I've got a new episode of that dropping this coming week here, later in the week as you hear this. It is with Halo composer Marty O'Donnell, who also, by the way, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, what's Halo, who's Marty O'Donnell, I don't know, I don't care. You probably remember the old TV commercial that's actually, I'm told, still runs, the Flintstones Kids Vitamins jingle. You remember that? We are Flintstones Kids. Oh, my voice is stunned. Somebody's going to clip that out and use it against me, I know it. But the Flintstones Kids jingle, Marty O'Donnell, this guy wrote that. And his second career has been video games, and he wrote the Halo theme, which is a very iconic theme in video games. Anyway, that's a fun little fact for you that maybe you can relate to even if you're not a video gamer. A couple more things. Nerdstyles.com. I sell video game and geek-inspired t-shirts there, as well as a coffee mug. So I've got some fun designs. I encourage you to check them out. If you like anything, feel free to grab it. We ship anywhere, just about anywhere in the world. And they're all printed on demand. So it'll be, you pick the size you want and the color you want, and it will be printed and made and shipped right to you. T-shirt season is coming up. It sure as heck is here in Phoenix. Where I'm fortunately not here. It's nice at night, but my goodness, it's 90 during the day in March. Be sure to subscribe to Dave T's weekly Tesla newsletter at teslaweekly.com. Let me try and get that out before my voice drops again. My voice just disappears. Also, if you use Stitcher, I've mentioned it the last few weeks since we got on there, but this podcast is now on Stitcher. You can find it in the games and hobbies section, and then within there, it's the car enthusiast subsection. So take a look at that if you are a Stitcher person. And if you happen to be like me and you're in a Tesla right now, you can listen to this podcast in there. Tesla PR, I wrote to them and mentioned the fact that I'd really like to try and get this podcast added directly to the in-car setup, and I'm hoping they can point me into the right direction there. But in the meantime, If you just go to the TuneIn website and follow the show on there, search Tesla Podcast or Ride the Lightning, follow it, it should then show up in your Tesla under your favorites. So that's a good way to listen to it in your Tesla. And last person I want to thank is once again, because I've been getting a lot of people giving the show a try, thanks to teslarati.com, TESLARATI.com. Gene has been my point of contact there. It's a site run by owners. Great resource. Just they keep track of a lot of Tesla news, a lot of news that is of interest to Tesla owners. Great site. They've been very kind to mention this podcast and help get the word out to Tesla owners and enthusiasts. So I'm extremely grateful to Gene and the folks over there. Oh, there goes my voice again. My goodness. That is it. I got to go pass out, and hopefully my voice will be better tomorrow. But this has been Ride the Lightning episode 33 live from inside a Model S. So this is like a little window into my dream come true right here. I love it. I had a great show. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. So we've got one more. Next week's show is coming to you recorded live from Hawaii. And then my thinking is, of course, normally the show drops on Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific. I'm strongly considering just doing the episode 35. So not next week's, but the one after. I might, just fair warning, I might record it and drop it immediately after the event. Provided all the live stream stuff works and I'm able to see it, I'm thinking I might just record all my thoughts immediately and just get a show out, get my reactions out so that we can get the feedback loop going and get everybody chiming in. But we'll see. Anyway, so maybe keep an eye out for an early show, but I'll remind you again next week. Anyway, I'll see you next week from Hawaii, though it doesn't matter. You're listening to it from anywhere you are. That's the beauty. I can record this from literally anywhere, whether I'm inside a Model S or on a Hawaiian beach somewhere. Anyway, my name is Ryan McCaffrey. Thank you all so much, especially if you made it this far. I know I've been rambling a lot this week, but I'm just so excited. There's so much to talk about. See you back here for the final pre-Model 3 episode. Think about it. Next week's the last episode ever that I won't know what Model 3 looks like anymore. After that, I'll at least know what it looks like. Yay! See you guys next week.